Good afternoon, this is Gabriel Jackson, and welcome to BJC Mitzvah Day, number 92, using the Sefer Hachinuch. A Mitzvah Day keeps us on its way. Today we'd like to honor the beautiful and wonderful Hampel family, and we'd like to also dedicate this in loving memory of Daniela Hampel. Her neshama should aliyah, her neshama should be elevated higher and higher. What a sweet person, what a sweet soul. Okay, new mitzvah, the prohibition to cook meat with milk, also found in the second book, Parshas Mishpatim, and here we go. It says, Lo sepashel gediba b'chelev imo. You shall not cook a kid in the milk of its mother. The famous, don't eat meat and milk, don't cook meat and milk. We'll talk all about it. Although in its literal sense, the above verse speaks of a young goat and its mother's milk, its prohibition actually includes cooking the meat of any kosher domestic animal in the milk or dairy product of any such animal. As the Chinuch explains below, the term gedi, while having literal meaning of a young goat, can also be used to refer to any meat. And the sages in Tractate Chulin determined that it is in this sense that the word is employed in our verse. Oral tradition teaches further that the verse's specification of the milk of its mother is merely an example of the most common way that meat would be cooked in milk. The tender meat of a slaughtered animal was most likely to be cooked in the surplus milk of its mother. In actuality, the prohibition is not limited to the milk of its mother, but includes cooking the meat with any milk or dairy product. In addition to the prohibition to cook meat with milk, there is another prohibition associated with meat and milk. A meat and milk mixture that was cooked together is forbidden for consumption or any other benefit, such as selling or giving it to a non-Jew. In Mitzvah number 113, Chinuch outlines the biblical parameters of that prohibition and the rabbinic safeguards that were enacted to ensure that the biblical injunction is not violated. It is important to note that both of these prohibitions are independent of each other. As Chinuch points out in this mitzvah, the prohibition against cooking meat with dairy applies even if it is not subsequently eaten, and the prohibition against eating or benefiting from the cooked mixture applies even to one who did not cook it. Two separate mitzvahs. We are commanded not to cook meat of an animal with milk, as is stated in Exodus, Mishpatim. You shall not cook a kid in the milk of its mother. The literal translation of the word gedi, as we mentioned before, is young goat. The Chinuch explains that in this verse, the meaning of the word is more inclusive. The explanation of this verse, as transmitted to us by the sages in Chulin, is that the verse does not refer only to a young goat, rather even any other animal meat is included in the meaning of the word in this context, because the term gedi in this verse is not to be understood as a reference to a young goat, but is rather a term for the meat of any animal. The verse expresses this meaning of meat with the term gedi because meat is a tender item, as is a young goat. Thus the word gedi is used here in a borrowed sense to refer to the meat of any animal. Okay, we'll stop here. We'll continue tomorrow. Thanks for listening to this Future Mitzvah 36, 100 for the gold. And we'll see you tomorrow.